We're going back to Abilara in County Longford, and I gather there have been developments. Niall, are you there? What can you tell us?
So it's been a tragic, sudden and shocking end to this siege. The man who we know to be 27-year-old John Carthy is dead.
An néolódéag dabran gá bhíle, baile ciún tuithe gunda in Longford. Tarlín mionchlamper tailig, ach las siad a roint uanta tá meán agus pobl na tíre a lig, sáte ach cur sa scéal.
Trúna an néolódéag, níor arúdaí go má I teach John Carthy agus an mhóthar Rose Carthy. Bhí sé hain an íste bhrí go dó.
Rug John Carthy ar rán chunne. Scuil sé roint urachar, agus dúirt sé le na bháthar gur bharde an tig ágáil. Dénig siise ag leir carach go tig na górsan.
Rosie Carthy was deeply distressed by what John did. She'd never seen him behave like that before, and the local guards were sent for.
Cheap sí go mbeadh sí ag léachar na Gardai in sa mealach ina gléon daoine na Gardai go minic agus go mbeadh siad an sin chun sort cabhar a thuairt agus cabhar a thuairt de John Carthy.
But when they arrived, John resisted any attempt to speak to them. In fact, he fired at an unmarked car in the drive of the house on that occasion. The people in Abilara were quite stunned by what they were seeing. Armed police in helmets, black protective gear on the streets of the village. They felt it was an overreaction. They felt annoyed that a small domestic row in a house was now becoming a major national incident.
Di John Carthy ag fullingt tréimh sí dúlagar le roinn blianta. Ach an éis bhí sé trína chéile mar gur raibh cadrah a bhí aige le ban tréis teach an deirg. Dalrinn sé freisin gur raibh sé curtha amach mar go rabhas ar tí an seanna hig an ar tógu é a legan. Tamil ribh seo freisin bhí absaontas idir Carthy agus na Gardaí nuair a bhain na Gardaí a runamhaid.
Hiag sé go gairid tréis go tóginn rán chun go raibh bolte agus chu sé as go mór agus rinne sé éileh na Gardaí an grán chun áileis, dúilteol chuiseach go dtí hicólaí, dír sé an sicóla sin letir is scríomh le bhéidir an grán chun áileis. Bhí intas an sicóla sin go rá grán chun aige dúir a febanní meabhar bhéige go rá grán chun aige sa chédal síos. Ach fuair sé letir ó sicóla dhéile rud a dá gurrtagu an grán chun an eisteach. Ní bhain sin nach achtar amháin a measc achtarí dág an evidence in intin John Carthy I lean an Gardaí.
Bhalig na Gardaí drifar John, Marie Carthy in Gaillimh, agus thugadarí féin agus cara John, Martin Shelley chug an láthair. Bhí sé déanach ar an géadaín ar a bhain siad ceann scríbe amach.
We arrived up home at 11 o'clock. And I told the guards myself, like, that if they just left him alone for a while, like, he'd calm down and come out himself and let me talk to him.
Later in the night, she was asked to return to the scene with her friend Martin Shelley, but the Gardaí said at that stage that she had alcohol taken and she was not fit to see her brother. She contested this. She said she may have had one hot whiskey in the house during the night, but she certainly said she wanted to speak to John.
And I begged them to go down to talk to him, and they just pushed me back and shoved me and did everything they possibly could not to let me near the house.
I couldn't understand how they would let me down talk to John and they wouldn't let his own sister talk to him, which I thought was outrageous.
Dallar gofi corla uamsha. Shin céadród gan éiring ná céhéad na daoine thugann takeíocht an duine sa. Bhíon duine taobhistí dá bhaile féin. Ní raibh sé mó I furaighnamh sa bhaile mór agus gan is a géine céir a bheith. Bhí sa ga géine céir a bheith.
Marie knew that he needed psychiatric treatment, and in fact, before Abilara ever happened, he had an appointment on Holy Week to see his psychiatrist, Dr. David Shanley. But David Shanley was never contacted until the second day of the siege. And in fact, John's own doctor, Patrick Cullen, who was at the scene very early on, was not contacted until the middle of the night. So a very important period of time had been lost, a period of time when two medical professionals could have given the Gardaí specific information about his condition had been lost.
Chomala sin uair go bhanaidir a runamhaid, bhí drochaí ag John Carthy ar na Gardaí áitiúla I dtaca le heachtra eile.
In 1908, bhain fuireann pelle manisté leráiche chlufií ceannis sinsir an chundaí amach achtar mór a broiste, agus mar chuid gan chealúra bhí meascá dinta go bheith snáthín glunne, gaur agus tréis an chealúra, lánaí bhlasú an meascá seo. Chuir tábharniúir áitiúil in núl gan na Gardaí gur tháinig burt ógan nach chuige agus gur úidir go bheith John Carthy las an gaur. Chun na Gardaí chu sé steach a ceapagur se go le labhart faoi grán chuna a tógiúhaid agus curú ina le go bé las an gáir snáing glunne, héan se a seo go láidir. Nís deir sesin gur tú droch iad go ag stáisiún na Gardaí, agus bhain rud a tháinig esan teachtar se ar fad ná gur aspa trust ag in the sin is na Gardaí.
Up to that, Johnny never had a problem with the guards. Because he knew a lot of the guards. A lot of the local lads knew him. Johnny would be harmless. After that, he had a hatred of them.
If there's anything that we can do to make that man come out of that house at this moment in time, we will do that, and we will stay as long as it takes.
Agus Derek tacht leis an géad lá, hí na meán náisiúnta ag tríal ar an maile beag.
John Carthy was the son of a Bordnamona worker who settled in the village of Abilara. For most of his life, he stayed at home in the village. He went to the local national school, a very quiet young man, largely not involved in very much activity, certainly not involved in any trouble at any stage in his youth.
He was a year and a half older than me. We just got on really well, like we done everything together. We started school on the same day. Basically, we went everywhere together. From school, he went to horticultural college in Warrenstown. That's when he became depressed first. And well, he'd learned to deal with his depression. He knew when he had to go to the doctor.
Hánig sé nuair bhí sé ógama. Now, nuair Harlíonn sé sin agus an duine ógama, gomininic bíonn an torra beagán beag níos measa. Le bipolar affective disorder bíonn sais aspa smachta I gceist ó hibh cuasaí maithócánda a cuma ó hibh cuasaí úmpraide. So bíonn aspa smachta an duine ar féin.
He has been barricaded in his own home here at Abilara in County Longford for more than 19 hours. Trained Garda negotiators are still trying to establish a consistent line of communication with him, and they've been speaking to him through loudhailers all morning. The man, however, remains in an agitated state and has fired around 20 shots at Gardai, the last two at 9:10 and 9:20 this morning.
Our main focus here is his personal safety. He has a gun, and obviously that's a danger to himself, so our whole emphasis here is to get him out.
Bhí na meán ar fad crunnithe bailithe timpeall ag bunchnachán an bailach sús chuig tach John Carthy nó tachmhóthar John Carthy, so ní ramar ná an faice iscint mar dhealrar an cnachán sa agus ní raibh na Gardaí sásta sin ligant súsan. Bhí iriseoirí ó RT, TG4, TV3, iriseoirí in Luchtan Irish Independent, Irish Times. Bhí gacha aon ó idir na iriseoirí náisiúnta, meán chumarsáid agus na iriseoirí áitiúla.
The 27-year-old man at the centre of this standoff made his first request to Gardai this morning when he asked for cigarettes.
Bhí sé sáinní sa teach se feadh gá lá. Le cuasaí intinne nach rudí iontach, bhí stras go leor maiall ar a méid, maiall ar bailach bhí nachtar se ar fad goite, agus rinn sé éileh ar heitiní, dúilta na Gardaí teitiní thuirteach an teach.
Ní mór a gánaí rudin beag a thuirt chun an sais cóibrúdáilt ach bí a thuirt goine tutíní más rud a go nólann siad tabach. Fáin tú cóibrú áirithe leis an just rudin beag san a dhéanamh.
Lear John ar an bhón lena chara Kevin Ireland, agus dúirt sé leis gur hastig dlíodar amháin.
Tugadh le fios go na Gardaí gur sé ghearradh an glíodar Mick Finucane nó Michael Finucane hí na friontaisich glíodara ag an nám. Deir na Gardaí nach siad ná heachtair, in aon go bhéad tí heachtair sách éasca, da dhéanach siad teagháil leis an deir an glí, chumála sin, chur Marie McCarthy in núldóibh go rá glíodar ag an gláán, níán siad éon teagháil leis an glíodar sin a chanéad.
Tréis go leor achaníthe, tugadh lucht na meán grí láthair an léigear.
Faoi dhearad dúirt na Gardaí right tuairmid sibh suas, chun mar suas thar go nachán agus bhí mar i gcána na Gardaí agus tugadh na camadóirí ábhrín beag níos gcuireadh an teach.
The ER you are here, you can take shots of them because I'm not going to move out of position.
Where's the house?
I'll show you the house in a minute. You stay where you are. The window that you see is at the gable of the house. That's where he's inside at the moment. All the windows are broken in that at the moment.
Any guard that I was speaking to, I asked them could they not call off the media that it was going to be harmful to John, that it would jeopardise the whole situation, and I was told there was nothing they could do.
Bhí cúpla piléir scaoileachan san cloiseach teachtamach ó Hac John Carthy a rís so dúrach ling a rís fill a ráise an láthair raibh lachnim an crunne fan lei.
We're going live now to Longford, to the small town, the small village indeed, of Abilara, where a gunman has been involved in a siege at his home.
Clúdú an léigeir sin ar fad de RTE bhí Paul Reynolds agus go gairid tríos gur thosa sé tháinig Niall O'Flynn ó 57 Live ar an láthair. Nis bhí cinenne tócaí ag siúmra nóchta RTE nach raidir chun enam John Carthy a chréile.
Right now, I'm standing on the Tunnymore Road, about 100 yards from the house. Any nearer and the Gardai say we're actually within range.
Choig 57 Live cinenne grodir chun enam a chréile. Nis chúlan na Gardai grodir chun é seo dhéanana go gairid rivan gréile ag go cúige chlog. Céan ar rúts na Gardai go sunrach le 57 Live nach siad gur go gréile fín tanim, léiridir post grodir mí hásta fín rudir fad.
He's been named locally as John Carthy. We haven't got that officially just yet. We do know he's 27, a single man. He's in the building trade, I think a plasterer, certainly a labourer, and he's very well liked by all accounts locally.
Nis chomáilis an tanim a chréile, rinne 57 Live agalah le daoine ón gantar agus instant gantar sin tugu sunraí person to freshen faoi John Carthy.
And he was going out with a girl in Mayo, and he split up from the girl or something, because the girl said, well, he smokes and like he has a drink, and the girl says if he packed in the drinking and packed in the smoking, they get back together again.
There are trained negotiators at the scene, but what really strikes you when you see the house is the number of armed officers there are here, members of the Gardai Emergency Response Unit. There are also local detectives armed with Uzi submachine guns.
Go raibh sé stig ag éisteach le scéal fé a mó ar na man cumarsáide. Is stoilm go ardóg sé sin go mór an sais tennis ach an ardóg sin a stakes comma.
Just probably would have thought then, well, even if it come out, everybody's going to know it was me that was in that house. That's going to have had a big effect, and I'd say that kind of driven nearly over the top.
I could see John's legs coming out the gate, and I see the detectives running and shouting, he's out, he's out.
I just seen him coming out, just around the centre of the road is the first thing to see him.
And the next thing they just fired.
That was it, I just seen him falling.
Lámhaigh Gardai an ERU, John Carthy, Cera Húra, fárós na cosa agus fárós a grim.
I just seen him lying down on the road.
Did you go to him?
No, I begged the guards to let me just say goodbye to him, and they wouldn't let me.
Did they give any reason?
They just kept pushing me back and saying he was all right.
"24 hours after it first began, this standoff ended in tragedy.
Bhain sé prab as gachéine, ní bhéine súil go bin an is socha an críocha bheachar scéile. Go mórmhar bhí mar crceisna bhfuil má am hána daine sa ilte is socha imachtaí éigeandála mar seo. Cén fá nar dénach iirecht é a ghortú seachas é bharú ar an dúirt.
Is dóilm go raibh sé sa léir nach raibh mar an ólas a car chuna stáileála duine bhfuil galar meabhrach ortha agus bína seirbhísí a bra anna cuid ar na Gardai chun daoine bhreist an ospidéal nó chun daoine ag mead sláán. Ach chun sé sais únóm go raibh na systems a gan a bheith forbartha agus bacórdóibh a bheith.
People are asking, did the Gardai have to shoot this man?
Well, this is something that we obviously didn't want to happen. We were, as you know, adopting an approach of negotiating as much as we could over 25 hours, and the situation that developed after that was just simply tragic and something that we didn't want to happen, but unfortunately it is now a reality and it did happen that way.
But could he not have been stunned? Could he not have been shot in the leg? Could his life not have been saved in some way?
Well, I think in the aftermath of this particular tragedy, I don't go into sort of debates in relation to what tactics or other methods could have been used or anything like that.
Chief Superintendent Adrian Culligan will begin his investigation into this fatal shooting tomorrow morning. This evening, the villagers of Abilara are in mourning. they went to Mass to pray for John Carthy, a man whose father and grandfather also died on a Holy Thursday.
Ba achtar paibli boss John Carthy, ach nuair a curú trí lá níos dearnaí I ruair na meán fannach glanar an sochrid. Trí lá na ia sin, lear marí leis na hiiriseoirí ag presaglah.
I do not wish to blame anyone for what has happened to John, but I wish to call for a searching, independent inquiry and would like these results to be made public.
Gléisteach ar an FBI chun carú leis an visrú an bheanach, ach níor hásig sin Winter Carthy.
5 FBI agents whose expertise in the handling of the type of situation which arose in Abbey Lara would be internationally recognised are here and are assisting in the matter. It is not part of the role of these experts to conduct the actual investigation. This is a matter for the investigating chief superintendent.
I think it is inadequate that Gardai investigate Gardai. In my opinion, the FBI, who were called in to help investigate, should speak to my family and witnesses, and not just the Gardai.
Ceir níos dearnaí, agus bhí tuairis Culligan fós gan fáilte, an giotide bheith scuilte leis na meáin. Ag an gcuiste crónéire, délig an tailech fisrú paibli a rís eile, chun freagraí áil ar na ceistena neamhréitithe.
There was a conflict of evidence with Dr. Harbison's evidence and some of the Gardai. So basically we'll be still calling for the public inquiry, because there's a lot of questions still have to be answered.
Certainly from the reading of the statements which were read into evidence before the coroners, one would get the impression that he was walking directly, diagonally towards the guards. I think it's fair to say that upon examination by counsel on behalf of the Carthy family at the inquest, that picture wasn't as clear following the hearing of that evidence.
Caigi sin í sin fáilte tuairis Culligan. Tuairis go dúirt go raibh na Gardaí gan locht nach mór, ach an áit Winter Carthy agus an pobl a hasú, Véidig tuairis Culligan an tauras hí churchuigan an Gardaí I marú John Carthy.
Bhí beag nach gach bonfuinte sa tuairiscáil sin mí cheart, agus tá sé sin rítholair ón méids a tháinig amach inné sin. Agus sin an faibe smó atá agam le tuairiscáil Culligan. Ba drochród gur marú John Carthy, ach bhí sin níos measa an bhealach ina bhí a charactéir fealmhartha inné sin. Agus sin I mo thuairim se tharla sa tuairiscáil sin.
The Culligan report painted a picture of John Carthy as somebody who drank a lot, smoked a lot, and was what people might call a bit of a bowsy in Abbey Lara. Locals resented this fact. They knew John Carthy to be a caring local individual who loved his sport. And while he was not always working in the village, he was somebody who was well known and was very respectable in the area.
He was introverted, the official report said, a poor mixer with a gambling habit, whose main social outlet was drinking.
Bhí golórólas sa tuairiscáil sin faoi chórsaí leis a bhain le John Carthy nach rá ar an chur bé a bheith leiste go tuairiscáil mar sin, ach ní rá an tólas sin ag cuidmhacht na Gardaí ag an am agus ba chóir go mbeadh stáilm.
The Director of Public Prosecutions has recommended that no Gardai should face criminal charges as a result of their actions. The Carthy family have been angered by the decision.
Basically, myself and the family are very disappointed with the DPP's decision, and I think it's appalling.
Blian treis farú John Carthy chur cuiste arachtais tús le héisteachtaí hí an gunspóid. Níor bhada áfach go méid an dóibh éirí as an iireacht.
The Oireachtas inquiry was ineffective from day one. It was clear that the Gardaí were not happy with the process, whereby one of them could have been named as being responsible, one of them could have had personal comments made about their role in the inquiry, and from day one they objected to that procedure. They went to the court and they stopped it in a very short period of time. It was a non-runner as far as the Gardaí were concerned.
The fundamental finding that Parliament does not have the inherent power to conduct this type of inquiry means an end to the Abbey Lara inquiry and a serious question mark over any future such investigations.
The pressure for an independent inquiry grew considerably. The family got the support of the former Taoiseach Albert Reynolds. The MEP Jim Higgins came on side, and all of a sudden there was a political pressure on the Justice Minister John O'Donoghue to actually agree to a public independent inquiry, which he finally did.
Bunaíodh Fisrachan Pibli fi stúr an bhrethebh Robert Barr in Abron 2003. Trí bliana treis bharú John Carthy.
We're very hopeful that after almost 3 years that we'll finally get our questions answered.
Many here believe that this inquiry will be over if there are no legal challenges before the end of August, with many vital questions finally answered.
Ach lean sé a bhfad níos faide ná sin. 8 bhí san iomlán, agus nuair a fáilte an túris Gardai in úl 2006. Cháin an brethebh Barr na Gardai agus na meán go géir.
Tá an tuarascáil seo ríthbhachtach ar fad, mar seo beag nach an chéadúir a bhfuil sort analís devan ar achtar amháin. Agus tá muid in an fólam an achtar sin. Agus tá Barr anláidir ar fad ar an buinte sin, féchann sé ar céard bachóirí ana sa todhchaí.
The Barr Tribunal report is scathing in its criticism from the ERU's command structure right up to the Assistant Commissioner who attended the scene.
Níorfiú locht na Gardai éonracha a cha John Carthy ar an lá. Ach, dinú cána géir na Gardai sínstracha bhí ar an láthir ar an lá, go dtíobh an chusca fada le rá gur beirt go na Gardai sínstracha sin go rá láimh acap in san bróisirs a dag gur bhása John Carthy. Agus dinú cána láidir ar struchtúr an Garda siochanna le bheith déile leis an cinál se achtra.
The retired judge said, "I'm satisfied the responsibility for his death rests primarily with the scene commanders, Superintendent Shelley and Superintendent Michael Byrne, and to a lesser extent, the ERU tactical commander, Detective Sergeant Jerry Russell. But the greatest Garda mistake at Abilara was not preparing for an uncontrolled exit by John Carthy from his home." And Barr went on to say it was patently negligent not to contact Carthy's own local attorney or the family solicitor when the 27-year-old had specifically requested it.
Chamála sin dinú cána ar na meáin, RTE agus 57 Live as Anim John Carthy a thuairt, agus as Sunry Parsonta a thuairt.
I have a huge sympathy for the Carthy family and the way that they have handled a terrible tragedy in their lives. I think it shouldn't have happened.
Stoilm gnearna an brethebh Barr iirecht deachlú muintir Carthy agus go háirithe John Carthy a dhéisiú. Agus bhí an tábhacht ag baint lei sin ó thaobh an chláán. Mar díreach i ní tuarascáil Culligan bhí an damáiste déanta dóibh siúd. Agus bhí sé ríthbhachtach ar fad go ndéanach duine éigean le údarás iirecht rud éigean dhéanamh faoi sin agus stoilm gnearna an brethebh Barr job iontach chun an deachlú sin a dhéisiú.
Words could not describe the unbearable pain and suffering John's unnecessary death has caused our family. Life has never been the same for us since John died. John's death has left a huge emptiness in our lives, which will remain forever.
There was considerable anger in the Gardaí. I spoke to many members of the force, including some members of the emergency response unit, who felt that Mr. Justice Barr simply didn't understand what was happening in Abilara. He didn't understand how things happened so quickly.
Our members had to make a split-second decision on the day, and you must remember that Mr. Barr has had 2 years to look at this. Our members had to make a decision on the day.
I think it's regrettable that the Gardaí themselves don't seem to be capable of conceding that the events at Abilara were tragically mishandled.
Tony Hickey, the Assistant Commissioner at the time, told me afterwards that he also felt Mr. Justice Barr simply didn't understand the circumstances, that he couldn't possibly understand the circumstances whereby members of the force were confronted by a man with a gun, a man who had fired more than 30 times in the previous 24 hours and had to make instant decisions. Many of the Gardaí still believe that a retired High Court judge could never understand those circumstances.
Erdera, trí hachtan reis ailsiú thuairisc Barr, agus sé bliana treis bháis John Carthy, rah na Gardaí leiscéil le muintir Carthy. Tá mór an athraithe déanta ar chleachtais na Gardaí i gcás na léigear mar thoradh ar thuairisc Barr. Tá trórach an nua ag RTE chomá i dtaca le tuairisciú léigear. Chos an tuairisc Barr €20.4 milliún le déanaí fuair muintir Carthy tuairim is €100,000 cúitimh.
Before the events of April 2000, Abilara was just another rural parish a small village with an abbey and 2 local pubs.
Stoilm Garau Marie Carthy an Kroger fad. Vi galore Jackrachty eki vi shisha an tain dinna vi focus clan. Vi ahar marav, vi adrehar marav, niran ach I hain agus amaher Rose Carthy. Stoilm hain ganyarna shi job intach, fragracht, oil asacht an rod harla.
After that event, the town has been associated with one of the most violent deaths in the history of the police force. And that's something that the people of Abilara resent. They never wanted the national attention, they never wanted the national media, they never wanted John Carthy to die